Welcome to Spicer and Company. I'm Sean Spicer.
And I'm Lindsay Keith. We're going to be spending a lot of time talking about the media today, both in political advertising, but also in news programming. It can be stunning to see how some reporters who claim to be objective manipulate the media to their own political leanings.
That's right. One of the most egregious examples of skewed reporting came from Chuck Todd on Meet the Press on Sunday. He conveniently left out the critical second half of a soundbite from the Attorney General. But what was even more disgraceful was the lame excuse that Meet the Press sent out for explaining this omission. We're going to show it all to you a little later. But first, I want to focus on what a couple of campaign ads that have been circulating say. Here's the real question. Will either of these ads make a difference in who you ultimately vote for? As we inch closer and closer to November, one issue is dominating political ads right now: China, with President Trump and Democratic presumptive nominee Joe Biden turning the pandemic into a critical election showdown. Here's a recent ad from the Biden campaign.
Joe Biden warned the nation in January that Trump had left us unprepared for a pandemic. Then Biden told Trump he should insist on having American health experts on the ground in China.
I would be on the phone with China and making it clear, we are going to need to be in your country. You have to be open. You have to be clear. We have to know what's going on.
But Trump rolled over for the Chinese. He took their word for it.
Well, not to be outdone, Team Trump didn't sit around taking that criticism lightly. Here's an ad from Trump's super PAC America First hitting back at Biden. Take a listen.
Joe Biden on China.
It is in our self-interest that China continue to prosper.
Biden voted for job-killing trade deals with China and failed to support the China travel ban to stop coronavirus.
Banning all travel will not stop it.
China's killing our jobs and now killing our people.
They're not bad folks.
After 47 years in Washington, Joe Biden just doesn't make sense.
All right, both candidates are previewing accusations that will most likely dominate the presidential debates in the fall. Is it a smart and effective political strategy to win the White House? Here to help us answer that question and more is a man with a lot of experience running political campaigns, strategist and former advisor to Bill Clinton, Dick Morris. Dick, welcome back.
Hey, Sean, good to be here.
So let's take this, if we can, candidate by candidate. So the Trump guys clearly are going after Biden for being in Washington for a long time, ineffective in standing up to China. And in fact, according to that ad, he is saying that they're not really a threat. So just focusing on the Trump ad for right now, do you think this is an effective strategy in hitting Biden?
Yes, it is, but it's not what it appears to be, Sean. It appears to be an anti-Biden ad. But the Trump campaign, I think, knows it's way too early for that. And if they succeed, they get Cuomo or somebody as a candidate who might be harder to beat. I think the purpose of that ad is to make China take the blame for the slow start in the U.S. in preparing for the virus, rather than Trump. Because the thrusts of the Democratic charges are that Trump left us unprepared and did not take steps soon enough, that he was conned and called it a hoax. And the defense that Trump is putting up is, first of all, I did act quickly. I did keep Chinese out. But the more effective defense is to say that if I was slow, it was because they hid it. They said there was no person-to-person contact. They hid the severity of the virus. They wouldn't release the genome code. So I was taken in just like everybody else. And that way he deflects the blame and rebuts the central Democratic attack on him.
Okay, but now let's flip the tables for a second. You look at the way that Biden is going after Trump, right? So he's saying, essentially at the end of that ad, he rolled over for President Xi in China. He's not standing up to him, demanding that we're in that country. Is that an effective hit against Trump from the Biden campaign?
It's a big mistake by Biden, because if he makes this election a referendum on who's tougher on China, he's going to lose badly. First of all, because he's softer on China, but more importantly, because Trump is president and he can keep on making this stuff. All Trump needs to do is to announce tomorrow that he's sanctioning China, or that he's cutting off student visas, or that he's letting Americans sue China and recoup out of the interest they owe us, steps that would really devastate China. So Trump can demonstrate how tough he is on China, and Biden can't. And it's a short-sighted mistake for them to open this line of attack.
Fair enough, but here's the question to you, Dick, right now. You're absolutely right. He could do all these things in terms of standing up to China. the student visas, we've talked about it on the show before, would actually be a great idea regardless. And there's other ways that he could do this, but he's not. Yes, he cut off travel, but everyone's cut off travel from each other at this point. Why is Trump not looking like he's being tougher on China? Because I think that this goes back to this whole idea that it's easy to campaign, it's a heck of a lot harder to govern. And when they own so much of our debt and are dependent on PPE, Trump's got to thread this needle of, hey, I got to look tough on China, but I can't cut off the supply of all the PPE rather that's coming over here from that. So is he not standing up to them because of that?
No, I think he's going to stand up to them. I think that it's a process working its way through. I think the next few weeks are going to see, I'm just guessing, a tremendous amount of anti-Chinese stuff coming out from Trump. Of course, he just negotiated the trade deal, and he doesn't want to screw that up. I think he's over the debt issue. I think that and the PPE issue, I think we're past that. But I think that that basically he understands the importance of being tough on China. He wouldn't let his campaign get out this far on that issue without planning to back it up with presidential action. So I would expect momentarily for him to do that. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow.
We'll see. Let me switch gears for a second. In your last column, you suggest that President Trump should fire Chris Wray, the FBI director, because he has not stood up for Trump, right? So here's my question for you.
Not covered in justice.
What's that?
Because he's let the FBI rob and steal and lie.
Okay, fair enough. But let me ask you the political question, because that's what we're focused on right now. The last time that Trump fired an FBI director was Jim Comey. And frankly, the fallout from that didn't go too well. Do you think that this close to an election, firing an FBI director, whether or not you agree with him or not, is the best political move?
Yeah, I do. I think that it's a way to dramatize the revelations that have come out, which indicate that the Russia thing was a total fake hoax, probably orchestrated by Obama himself, that the Flynn prosecution was to get him out of the way so the intelligence community could lie through its teeth to the American people. And as the dimensions of this conspiracy come out, it's going to make huge fodder in the election. And I think that getting rid of Wray has got to be the opening blast in that. You know, Mark Twain said that if a cat sits down on a hot stove, he'll never sit down on it again. But he won't sit down on a cold one either.
Good point. All right, Dick, thank you for kicking off the week for us. Look forward to having you back next week.
Thank you.
It's always great to have Dick on. I love hearing his perspective. But, you know, Sean, I want to go back to these political ads. We see Biden campaign, Trump campaign, both focusing on China. But is that smart? You ask Dick that. You've been in the political world for such a long time on many campaigns. Do you think that this is actually going to move the needle? Do voters actually care? So
the interesting thing is I disagree with Dick, actually, both in the FBI answer for different reasons. But on the ad issue, I think that what it does is it shows Trump's base that he's being tough. Because right now, the last several elections have been base plus elections, right? So if you go back pre-2000, people were trying to turn out independents and undecideds. Those days are largely gone. You're really jamming your base up right now. And he needs to show his base that this is the same Trump that was candidate Trump, that's tough on China, that's going to stand up to them. So by attacking Biden, he's not just attacking Biden, he's really shoring up his credentials as a guy who's tough.
Great.
All right. Well, coming up, NBC's Chuck Todd on Meet the Press yesterday was caught pulling a little bit of a sleight of hand on Attorney General Bill Barr's remarks regarding Michael Flynn. Our media panel is going to weigh in next. And later, we're talking to political talk show host Dave Rubin on his facts, not feelings approach to politics and why some people might want to burn his new book. Stay with us.